counting the.
Cost of being a systems engineer.
Okay, so Tony, what is a systems engineer?
So a systems engineer, if you think about a factory of a lot of mechanical parts, maybe conveyors, let's just use like a large bakery. So there's like the mixer that mixes all the cookies, then there's a machine that kind of stamps out all the cookie shapes, goes through an oven, goes through a bunch of conveyors, and then eventually gets packaged up and put into boxes and shipped out. So as a systems engineer, I look at this entire system and I think of ways to improve it and make it better. So like it can be the entire system, the entire line, or it could just be like an individual component within that line. So maybe it's just like the machine that packages up all the cookies. So as systems engineer, our role is to look at the entire system and think of ways to improve on it, make it easier for operators to use, or make it easier for managers to effectively use this machinery.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. So when you first started this job, were you like, because you graduated as an electrical engineer, so when you first started this job, they told you that you would be working in the systems, like as a systems engineer?
So I graduated I did find the job right before I graduated. And at the time, I didn't really have a good idea of what industry was like. I didn't really, I like took all the school classes and a lot of it was like theoretical, like how to solve math problems and things like that. And once I got into like the job though, I realized it was nothing. Maybe not nothing, but it was very different from
Yeah.
school. Like I learned a lot of my skills directly on the job, just kind of doing the work, learning from like mentors and people more senior than within my company.
Mm. Wow, very interesting.
So you gave us an example of making cookies in a factory, and you have how you work on the individual components or the whole system. So is that the actual product that you have worked on, or what are the things that you're actually working on?
Okay, so that is an actual example. Like I was for the cookie example in that one, I didn't go into the details of like making a conveyor or a mixer work, but I did do a series of projects where like I from a higher level, like someone already designed it, it already worked. But from a higher level, I try to go to each equipment and collect some data and present it to them in a way that they can make they can make management decisions from it. So let's say the mixer, you need everything to run in the line to make cookies. But if like the mixer, which is at the very beginning of the line, if that goes down, if there's a problem, and they take a while to respond to it, everything down the line, it's not producing any products. So that's like a more extreme scenario, but a lot of companies, they need to always stay running and they need to know like where their bottlenecks are. So the system I put in for that case was an effort to just collect data from all parts of the line, put into one nice display so that they can see like, okay, this machine, it's always doing great. I don't have to worry about it. This one, on the other hand, it seems to have problems all the time. Every couple of days, something goes wrong, and we have to send a guy out there to fix it. So maybe and we can invest some money there so that it can not be a bottleneck anymore.
That's true.
So that's one of the examples of the projects I've done, but I've done other ones within the company as well.
Have you ever tried the cookies that came out of your system?
I have. So you're not supposed to just like go and take them, but if the client like picks it up and gives it to you, then you're okay to eat it.
Wow.
Packaged cookies, very interesting. Wow. So then, like, so when you see them like make the cookies, like what kind of like how do they put all the so I mean there's got to be a lot of different ingredients, right? So then there are machines that let down the ingredients, and how do you guys measure like things like that to make sure the cookies come out perfect?
Yeah, so they use a batching process, which well, so they have a recipe for the cookie. They know like exactly how much dough, how much flour you need, how much sugar, how much of these ingredients, and they have a system that says, okay, I need this much stuff, and then for these systems, I actually personally have not worked on them myself, but I've seen some of my coworkers work on them. But for them, there's like there's a series of like screw conveyors or scales and a lot of different machinery that just moves ingredients in very precise increments, so they know exactly how much flour is there, or they just measure. Like they can weigh the mixer and then they add a bunch of flour. They see how much the weight is. There's like different ways to do that. I personally, again, I wasn't involved in that part of the project. But I know like they can very accurately, and the thing is too, like they can with these being machines, they can make it very repeatable. So they know like they can run the like maybe it's a air blower that just blows fire, but they can run it for a certain amount of time until certain conditions are met. And once sensors are like, okay, yeah, we have enough of this, then you kind of move on to the next ingredient.
I see. So, do you guys find your own clients that you want to work with, or they come and find you guys?
It's a mix of both, but you do have to actively, look for a market and try to create engineering projects out of like some problems that the customers may have.
And like, are your customers usually like they have like big machinery, like all factory size?
So I mean, it's not going to be like a mom and pop like restaurant,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we could have like smaller clients who they're going to be big. They're going to be bigger than like a couple, stores, but even like our companies do vary from like a very small, like there's only one of these plants in the entire U.S. and they just make a small part to maybe a larger, like more national or international company. So you gotta see like people from all over.
I see. So you mentioned actually before the interview that your parents wanted you to like be a doctor or a lawyer or whatnot. So how did you decide to become and like do engineering?
Yeah, that one's that one's interesting. I mean, currently, like people want you to do things, but then when they say like, "Oh, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be a lawyer," they don't really know exactly what that means, what they're asking.
They just think lots of money.
Like, yeah, like doctors, they don't mention like how much medical school costs or how long hours you have to work in residency or like right now we're in a pandemic. Like this is really tough on like the entire global health system. So these are things that like doctors you really admire them because they're able to do this. They sacrifice a lot. They work tough schedules, but they make a big impact. And and that's like something that I learned talking to different people, but really for me, I kind of looked at that and was like, I didn't know if I wanted to be a doctor for a long time. I sort of really pushed off like what I wanted to do for a career. But what was most important was just continuing to like talk to, like students that I went to, students that I went to school with, my friends who chose careers, and I, based off of like the friends that I had, the people who were making like these decisions to go into engineering or go into some of my friends did go on and became doctors, but talk with them and see like what their experience is like and see if that fits you. So if it does, then yeah, sure, go for it. But for me, I enjoyed my time with the engineering friends, enjoyed the time with the engineering courses, and just kept on that path. And even up to like when I started the job, I didn't really know what systems engineering was or what electrical engineering, like real electrical engineering in the industry, what that's like. Um, but I know that I was willing to try it, and you kind of just go at it. And you don't know if what you're jumping into is your career, but you give it your all. If you really like it, then you keep going. If you don't like it, then you see like what other, what things are drawing you and bring out the passion in you.
So what are the different because I mean there's electrical engineering, there's mechanical, and then what are the range of engine in the
There, there is a lot. I probably wouldn't be able to do it justice to like name all of them, but basically, engineering in general, it's the idea they're just problem solvers. They're just put into a role and they just need to. They're set with problems and they need to fix it. So you can have like mechanical engineers who they design mechanical parts, and the problem is like you need to build a certain machinery that can withstand certain stresses or withstand are built for certain environments. So they have to adapt for that. Electrical engineering, there's electrical circuits that go into these machines, and they need to think of ways to problem solve, use the cheapest, not cheapest, most inexpensive parts to build the most quality product that fits like the market requirements. Bioengineering, that's like study of I guess bioengineering. That one's interesting. It kind of touches on a lot of different fields, but it's like engineering as it relates to biologics. So there's like a you can think of like pharmaceutical drugs. You could use bioengineers there. Creating like prosthetic arms, like you could have them there. And then with like chemical engineering, also going back to like the pharmaceutical example, you of course need to make sure like you're creating these vaccines or drugs or products, and you have to know all the chemical components, and you have to solve the problem that the drug is intended to solve. Is if it's trying to solve a illness or a disease or whatever. So it's always engineering in general. It's like there's problems out there, and you want to find people who have the experience and the passion to solve these problems.
I see. So you guys are problem solvers. That's awesome. So when you first told your parents that you wanted to study this, what was their reaction?
I'm trying to think about that, and I don't think I think they've been really supportive, and it's been like if I didn't know what I was doing, then they said to me, hey, maybe consider being a doctor, be a lawyer. But they said like as long as I knew what I was doing, they just kind of supported it. And I think I had a couple friends in high school who like went to school for engineering, or wanted to apply to school for engineering, and they kind of talked to me about it, and I said, okay, this looks cool. And I told my parents about it, they just kind of said, okay, if that's what you want to do. But the thing with like bioengineering, at least, is that if I did want to become a doctor, that's like a good undergrad, major to go into before going into med school. But I decided that it wasn't for me. But like, I don't think I said it, but I did go to undergrad for bioengineering as well as electrical engineering. So I had something that was split between the two of them.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're a chef, you follow the recipe, and from what I just heard about system engineer's job, it sounds like you're pretty much uh, mechanizing the whole process so that things can happen more efficiently and faster. So you would probably have to put things together and see how that works. And do you basically design like an architect and put things into actual materials and operate the whole thing, and then you keep like changing how it actually operates? Do you design and then try it, and then if it doesn't work and you keep trying? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so there's like a iterative process to continue to make something better. So in your example of like a chef, I wouldn't be the chef. I'd be the person who's like watching the chef. The chef might be our clients, and they're trying to make like this product. They want to sell it, and they're extremely knowledgeable about making whatever this is that they're making. And I kind of come in and I look at what they're doing. I try to analyze like all the parts, all the steps are involved, and I think, okay, this one step that you do, I could do it this way, or I could do it this way. This one can save you money. This one gives you a better quality product, and you kind of try to weigh and balance it so that the entire thing that you give to the chef gives them the best entree that they can make with the least amount of effort, and with the knowledge that they can use in the future to make better entrees. So that's kind of extending from like the chef analogy. I wouldn't be the chef, I'd be the person trying to do that for the chef.
Okay.
So you're pretty much minimizing costs but producing high quality things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But you're not manufacturing, you're designing for the manufacturers, so the
Exactly.
clients can use a better system.
Right. I'm not the manufacturers. The manufacturers, they're cranking out a lot of their products, and they had a way that they make this product, and over the years, as technology evolves, as the market changes, as the competitors become better at what they do, um, our clients need to follow suit, and they need to improve their processes. They need to improve the way that they do things, make higher quality products with lower costs, as Lily said.
I'm interested in farming in the future because COVID is pretty much paralyzing the whole global system, and I'm envisioning a time when global economy can really go down and small farmers, localized food can be very very essential, and I am preparing for that time for the crisis. And then I've been listening to a lecture. The title of the book is no, the audiobook was Lean Farm, and this author is constantly talking about how Toyota make their whole process very efficient. Salespeople go to customers and they gather information from the customer, their feedback, what they actually need, and they talk to manufacturers, engineers, and they all work together. So it sounded like the obsession of the farmer. Is that something that you were familiar with? Going to the customers, gathering the information, making exactly what they need.
Yep. So that is something that is incredibly important inside our field. Like feedback for us to create a better product. We couldn't create a product and sell it to the market unless like there's a desire to have that system, that product. And the people who know whether or not they want it, it's the customers. Like they're the ones who know exactly what they want. They know what the problems are. So that is of our challenge. Like we do a lot of research to understand what's kind of where the industry is headed. What are the problems that we're encountering right now? We talk to our clients and figure out like, hey, what are some of your struggles as we go through the project? Like we're working with them and we design a system and we kind of draft up mock-ups and say, okay, this is how it looks right now. Is this what you're expecting? And they can say, yeah, this is great. Or no, this part we'd like it to look differently or work a different way. Because in the end, like they know exactly what they want. They're the experts. We're there to make it happen for them.
Yeah, probably you're not going to talk to customers all the time because you're working with the clients that are going to pay you. So I guess the another question is, so are engineers familiar with the large portion of customers' input into your work?
Yeah, so it really depends on like your personality. Like myself, I work well within the engineering team. I'm good with like working with a team of engineers. We're tasked with a problem, we can solve it. So I enjoy that. I'm good at that. But put me in front of a customer, and I can make my way around it, but it's not like comfort zone. But there's some people who, yeah, they're like extroverted. They love being in front of people. They love being in front of crowds. And if they have the engineering knowledge and they have that personality, then you want to get those sorts of people in front of the client. So we do have engineers who eventually go into more sales or project, more client focused path. But for myself, I enjoy the engineering, so I stay more indoors, working with a team of engineers to solve the problems. And also, like I have to like work on my own projects as well. So it's yeah, that's it depends on what your interest is and where your personality lies.
Yeah, I asked that question because the audiobook said that German companies have shifted from customers to engineers in terms of how much input they're going to bring into the equation of the production, and their sales went down because they weren't making what the customers actually needed. So I was wondering how things work on your side.
Yeah, so it's there is a tendency you got to manage that with engineers to just kind of like solve the problems the way that they want to. It's like so natural, like okay, I have this problem. This is how I would do it, and you do it in a closed door environment, and you're not talking to the customer, having that open communication. The engineers will solve something that like solves the problem that they were tasked with. But that problem might not be the actual problem that the customer has. They may have other things that you're not paying attention to that you may have missed. So it is important to like get that feedback from the people who will be actually using the product. Engineers, we just solve a problem. Maybe we're not thinking of all the other parts of the picture You might just be looking at just, tunnel vision on, hey, I need this thing to work this fast, so I'm going to design it this way. But then you miss other pieces of the picture.
I see. Do you have another question?
So what did you say to a 13-year-old that would like to be an engineer that they should start doing something at this point? If you can go back to, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy how long ago that was. And
Yeah.
13 or 14-year-old me would have no idea what I'm doing right now. I think the excuse me. I think the biggest thing I would say is just to I like what you're doing here, like kind of putting it out there so people are aware of like what other careers do. But like that's really how you learn what you want to do. You talk to different people, you talk to your parents and find out what they do. You talk to your parents' friends, or you talk to other adults that are in your lives and understand what their jobs are. And you live a mile in their shoes, kind of just to get a feel for what it's like. So I think that's super important. We're kind of trying a lot of different things. And the coolest thing is like right now we live in this digital age where there's a lot of stuff that you can just go out there, learn for yourself and build. Like I was actually doing a project with my brother, this Raspberry Pi project. And there's a lot of projects out there, but it's basically a microcontroller. So if you're interested in robotics, if you're interested in like mechanical parts or something, for computer systems, you can buy this Raspberry Pi or Arduino, and they're like $30, $40. The entire thing isn't really all too expensive, and you can take it pretty far if you're willing to put in the effort to follow the online blogs or tutorials or guides, because there's a lot of stuff out there. People are always making new material. The internet is flooded with this stuff, so you can always find something that's interesting to you and just try it. I would say, if you like it, then do more of it. If you don't like it, try something else.
That's pretty cool.
So would you say it was your influence that led your sister and your brother into the engineering field? I'm just curious because they're all doing engineering.
So I wish I could take credit for that, but I think that both for my sister and my brother, they would have. I think they would have picked it on their own too. I gave them one part of the picture. I gave them a little bit of perspective. But my sister, she knows. She's done her research. She's talked to me, but she's talked to a lot of other people, so she knew exactly like what she wanted to do after like getting that full experience and trying out things for herself. My brother also like. I mean, he's talked to me. He's talked to my sister. We both went into engineering. There was a lot of pressure for him to be into engineering, and I think with him, yes, we did have an influence, but I also think like he would have friends who go into engineering who enjoy math and science, and it's when you enjoy math and science and engineering really comes together when you like apply math and science together to problem solve, make critical. You use critical thinking to just solve like problems that are out there, and it's something that I think being like more math and science focused in that it's what my sister and my brother and myself naturally gravitated towards.
Math and science. I see. I was never good at math and science, so that's why I never went into that. Okay. Wow. I see. So
Yeah, everyone has different interests, and it's yeah, like Amanda, she doesn't like math and science at all, and we I mean, we just follow our passions and what we're most interested in life, and I think that's what's most important.
I see. So is there another field you want to explore like later on? Like not like another part of engineering besides system engineering that you want to try?
Sure. So with my work, there's actually a large diversity of projects that I can work on. So I like told you about this imaginary cookie line that I could work on. But there's a lot of other parts of controls that it's automation is sort of all over the place, and you use it in so many different scenarios. So one of the projects I worked on before was like on the solar farm. So that was a lot of fun for me because I knew I was like contributing to the green energy movement. I was building a system that helped this energy company more effectively manage their sites across the world. And that part was fun to me. But then that's like one project I work on, but then I can also work on like a pharmaceutical project where they're making a certain pill or something like that. So as far as like diversity, I feel like I get to see so much of the picture being in this systems engineering role, and I really enjoy that. As far as like my future career goes, though, I think I I am sort of heading into a little bit of management. And when I say management, I want to say the part that really interests me is empowering like other people to be better engineers, be better at their jobs to build systems. So I enjoy the mentoring piece. I enjoy giving them guidance, coaching them so that they can make a better product out there. So it's cool to see like a team grow and expand in that way.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I really enjoy. But like I also enjoy problem solving myself. So right now with the role I'm in, I get to do a little bit of both.
Oh, that's nice. Really
Wow, so there's a leader in you.
nice. That's
A
really
little
cool.
one, but yeah.
So have you thought about running your own company?
I I mean it's something that everyone I think sometimes dreams about, like just having your own company. I think for me personally, I'm enjoying where I am right now, and I it could be like a far future thing, but like currently, I'm still figuring out a lot of like the business world is it's interesting. Okay, so there's like the technical piece of engineering where you're like, okay, there's a problem, you got to solve it, and that's like a piece that I enjoy. I do a lot of, but the one that I doesn't come as naturally to me, and this is the one that they don't teach you in school, and I really think they should, is the soft skills that are associated with like any job that you do, whether it's in engineering or anything else. So soft skill is something like how to work as a team. Like if you're having a meeting, there are things that you can say that riles everyone up and makes everyone anxious or upset. Right? There's things that you can say that encourages them, and in the end, like you're trying to solve this problem. You bring people together to like figure out how to solve this problem. You can do it in a way that encourages them, or you can do it in a way that like makes them feel like, oh man, I have to solve this problem. So there's that like soft skill of bringing people together, having tougher conversations, even things like time management, like kind of knowing how to use your time efficiently to get all that you want done within a single day. Like these are the skills that they don't teach you as much in school, and it's super important in engineering. And this is like what I've been trying to put more of my time and my efforts in the last couple of years.
Ah, that's true. School doesn't teach a lot of the more important things. I mean, it's hard because you really need to go into the field first to learn because it's first-hand experience. My question, another question I had was, how have you seen this whole pandemic affecting like your work? Has it affected much or?
So I do think that for Amanda and myself, we're both quite fortunate that we can do our work remotely. So there are times when I have to go to a site and install whatever system I've been designing for a while. But while I'm designing that, while I'm working with my team to build whatever system, I can do that remotely at my home. So right now sitting actually in my office where I have a monitor set up and I can just do my work throughout the day on this, and then after a couple of months of development, I take a week or 2 weeks or something. I take this out to the field and I install it, and so that it's been introducing challenges for sure. But I think as far as Amanda and I go, we are very fortunate in the impact that it's had on us.
Wow, wow, that's really
Yeah, I feel like most people have access to the computer and internet. And is there anything that you actually need at the office that your home setting cannot supply you with?
Yeah, there's certain little things that can inconvenience you. Like, right, you can see my printer and my scanner here, which it works, but like in some of the work projects I work on, we print on very large
really,
sheets of paper.
yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and this guy can't do that. It can't print it. It can't scan it. So those are some of the challenges. But that's like a very little minor challenge, though. For the most part, we can take on any of our problems remotely. One of the okay, there is another like side effect, and I think this is more widespread than just my work. But people who are on Teams or Messenger or all those like communication tools. You're in front of your computer all day meeting people remotely, and isn't the same as if you were in
Yeah,
person with them. Like
that's true.
there's like a psychological piece. I don't know what exactly like causes that difference, but it does weigh on you. It's easier if you're doing it in person, but
Yes.
after like having a meeting, yeah, having an all day meeting in person is much better than having it like remotely, I think.
Yeah.
That's true.
Um,
So you mentioned about soft skills and practical skills you need to actually get the work done, such as time management and conflict management and all these things. Do you have any crazy stories where you saw the worst example of and saw the best example of, or any lesson that you learned through those process?
so I think I don't have any examples that I'd call out as like the best and the worst because they do kind of happen throughout your day. I think like soft skills is these are things that happen day to day. So sometimes you have like a tougher day. There's a problem that you couldn't solve. People are upset, and you kind of have to work through managing their expectations or kind of explain yourself for like why this is, and give them confidence by saying like, okay, well, I know it didn't go the way we planned, but let's talk about ways that we can make it better. Let's talk about ways that we can next time that we go back to site, we can change everything and turn it all around. So there's that's sort of like an everyday conversation. As far as like a precise examples of this, it really does. I don't think there's like one like this is great or this is terrible. And I think it's just like these are little things that build add up to a lot. Because if you apply it well, I think like if you try to see the strengths in people and you just continue to give them feedback to like build and encourage those strengths. You doing it once or twice that has a little bit of impact, but when you look at it across a year and you see like how much they grow and how much they kind of take an ownership of certain technologies or projects, that's like when you get that pride. You're like, wow, I was helping you along the way. I had a small part of your success. I continue to encourage you, but you really like took ownership of this and you like knocked it out of the park. Like that's the feeling that really like is most rewarding, I think. So that's that's not like just one incident that causes that. It's over the course of many interactions that I think lead to something like that.
Wow, that's very interesting because by mechanizing the whole human production process, you are actually dealing with minds and you're actually empowering those individuals to do better next time. So you're actually growing people into a bigger capacity of better workers, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, if I so I mean there's a lot of fun that we can have in our jobs to solve these problems, but there's also lots of challenges that can like give you some headache. But if we come at it with the right perspective, I think like we can rise through these challenges and we can have fun along the way. And it's not easy, and I don't think that I do it the best. But like over the last couple of years, I've been learning and trying out different things, and you sometimes have just hard days where it's like I have these things I can't finish this. I have too much on my plate. But then you have a moment where like you see like the person that you've been working with over several months, like they have their breakthrough moment, they have like a great project, and you're like, wow, that's awesome to see, and that's encouraging, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know a guy that started his own company with his two friends, and they're all Christians, and one is Catholic, one is Seventh Day Adventist, one is some sort of another denomination, Presbyterian or something, and they say, yeah, we run this company for God and all these things. And one time they signed a contract with Walmart, which was a huge deal, and they were going to make a lot of money. But Walmart sued them because they found the problem error, and Walmart said, okay, we're going to sue you. And he said, give me 24 hours or something. And he began to pray and we had to work on the to solve the problem. And he said it's literally impossible to find that missing piece because you're dealing with so much information. There's no way you can find it in 24 hours. So, but he did find the error miraculously somehow, and then he was able to win their confidence, and Walmart became his regular customer. And sometimes he couldn't even um, pay himself because his business didn't go well. So he said his business was like fluctuating like crazy, and it was such a journey. So I was wondering if you had a kind of like a crazy like stories where you felt like, wow, this thing is so difficult, or something was so like insane, or and then you had a breakthrough, or I don't know, but probably your case is more
Yeah, so
less
I
dramatic.
would. This is tough for my job, like my company. It's not a giant company, but it's not like a small shop that's just trying to get on your feet. When you are a small shop, like I've seen that, like my parents, they work in a restaurant and they know you kind of see the up and downs of the restaurant industry. It's hard to find a market and really like get your foothold there. So yes, when you're just starting out, there's a lot of up and downs that, like for my parents, they worked in so many restaurants before they finally got one that they called their own and they built and invested in. And our family, like kind of, it's not a franchise per se, but like each of our aunts and uncles kind of opened up
Yeah.
a very similar restaurant. So like that was something that was really good for our family. But before getting there, a lot of people were just doing their own things, trying to figure out ways to it goes up and down, but you want it overall to go slightly up. But once you have your breakthrough moment, it just you have that like continual climb. That's when you know like you really are through like one of the most challenging barriers. With my company, we're sort of I guess I would say we're more mid-sized. So for us to get to like a really large company, there's certain things that smaller companies do well. They're more agile because they don't have to, like a big company, they have a lot of engineers and they can throw all of their engineers on like a certain project and solve some problem. But on the other side, they're really slow to move because if they're going to commit all those people, they need to get everyone to agree on
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
that. So a smaller company, we have fewer engineers, but we're able to like shift our focus to what's most important much more quickly than a larger company would. So we're in that like mid-size range, and we're growing and we're improving, and we kind of still have like projects that are that we knock out of the park, and they become successful projects which we implement over and over again because it's the first time that you do it. There's certain projects that you can apply to very like my solar site example. There's not just one solar site, there's a bunch of them. So once you get one right, you do a good job with it, then you can do the other ones as well. So when you have like those sorts of moments, you feel proud about having a successful project. But you also have projects where you thought that it was going to be easy, and it turns out to be like a really challenging one. It takes a lot more hours than you expect. It takes more resources. It takes more people, more yeah. So overall, like you kind of have a mix of those, but overall, in the end, you want it to go up. You want our project overall to be more profitable.
I noticed that Lily is more of a hands-on person, so even though it's kind of shameful to say that she can fix things better than I can. So I think it's because both of your parents are chefs or have run restaurants and are good at hands-on things. So do you think you inherited those qualities from your parents?
So I think there's certain environments that like it was just figure it out or don't get whatever the rewards is sort of environment. Like our parents, they were supportive, but they kind of left us to just figure things out. And I think at least for me, I don't know about for Lily, but for me, like that kind of gives me like room to make mistakes, play around with things, and I guess I found out like there's certain things that I enjoy, and I try to I play around with and I learn from. But there's certain things that I don't have a great knack for. Like woodworking, I'm gonna use that example of something that I wanted to get into, but I don't naturally have a knack for it. But like we have a cousin, and he just things just like magically appear, and he just like and it's all amazing. I wish I could be like that. I think in the end, it comes down to like having that passion or interest in doing that. If you enjoy it, you can be more hands on and build it. But yeah, it's like what really draws you to it. So my parents gave me room to make mistakes, kind of play around with things. I found out what I liked from doing that. But I will say, like, I didn't really find it out until like at the very tail end of college. Like, I didn't know what I was going to be, like, what my career was going to be until the last couple of months of my last year in college.
Oh, that's really great way to do a parenting because my mom wouldn't just let me solve the problem. She would be like, "What are you doing? Let me fix it for you," and it ruined my opportunity to grow. So I guess it can be attributed to that.
I mean, it's different because our parents immigrated to America, so they highly depended upon us to help them with a lot of things. So
Yeah.
they always asked me when they bought their first house, I was the one translating and like having them sign the papers and all these things. So buying them insurance, all these things, they
Okay.
heavily depended upon us. So when they had any help,
Okay.
they would ask us, "Hey, can you call?
Yeah.
Can you fix this? Can you?"
Okay.
So that's why
You were
yeah.
forced to be more mature than most children.
But which was
Yeah.
very positive, I think, because
Very positive.
we can get a lot of things done by ourselves.
That's very true.
So.
I think so. I won't like forget. I forget what it was I was doing, but it was in like fourth grade, and like I go to school and I like do all these I don't know quizzes and math problems, and you feel great about it. And then you come home and there's this one time my parents were like, fill out this health insurance form, and it was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm not good in school. What is this thing I have to do? So you learn from like those problems, you kind of learn and you grow from it. So
Yes. Exactly.
Wow, that's a great learning process.
Yeah. So
Okay. Okay, so the last question I have is you mentioned about the really great work life balance. And that's also something I really enjoy. I work Monday through Thursday, afternoon and evening are my working hours. So I work 4 days a week. And it's very, very awesome. And how are you enjoying your work life balance? And what's the schedule like?
yeah. So I do enjoy my work-life balance, and I will say, like, for some people, they put more hours in. Other people, they do less. And engineering kind of leaves it up to you, like how much you want to take on for yourself. So at least for me, I enjoy being busy, but my work-life balance it's nice because like I don't have to show up at 8 every day and go home at 5. And my week it's sort of I do 40 hours, but it's up to me to like define the schedule. Maybe I'll work like 10 hours. One day I'll do 8 hours, a couple more days, and then Friday I'll take 6 hours. Like that's something I can do. I could start at 6 a.m. work till 4, or I could start at 9 a.m. I'll work for 5. And it's sort of as long as during the middle of the day I'm there and I'm available to help out with another manager or engineer or something like that, and I get my work done, then that's really what's expected. So I like having that flexibility. For me personally, I do work longer hours. I think I would average about I would say around 46 hours a week, roughly. Lately, it's been around like 43 to 46. Let's say around that range. But for my company, they do pay us for overtime, so that part is like a bit of an incentive as well. But it's nice that I can like do my work and then I can go home and I can disconnect from it. There are times when I'm like on call, like if there's a plant that I'm supporting that week, I might need to like be there to support, but I'm not gonna be like a doctor where like every other week or something I could be on call to whatever I'm doing, I need to run over to the hospital. So like I like that I can have more flexibility built in. With another part that was really nice is like for engineering projects, we're very project based. So if and what that translates to for work-life balance is if, for instance, when I got married, Amanda and I wanted to do a longer honeymoon. We wanted to go to China for a month. For a lot of times, it's going to be tough to just go away for an entire month. But like my managers worked with me, and they planned it for a time when I'm like in between projects, and I was fortunate enough to be able to take that time off, got married, and went and explored China for a month. So like doing things like that, kind of having the flexibility to if I want to work a lot of hours, I can. But if I want to like take time off, I can. If I want to work shorter weeks or longer weeks, there's more control over that, I think.
Wow. So who assigns you your work?
So it does. I guess like when I first started, I didn't know what was out there, and my manager was just said, okay, there's this project. Do you want to work on it? And I said, yeah, but I'll do it. I don't know. I don't know what else there is. That was sort of like the beginning portion. My manager just said, there's this, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Now it's a little bit different. Now I've seen a lot of projects. I know what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, where my strengths, my weaknesses are, and I can look at the projects. And if it comes through and it makes sense for me to work on that, then I jump on board with it. But if it doesn't make sense, if it better suits one of the other engineer's strengths, then I try to point that project towards them.
I see. So when you work, you're paid a salary. Do you also get like, I mean, if you do well on a project, does that bring any extra income or?
Yeah, so it depends on the company that you work for. For my particular company, I get paid a certain salary. I get like a certain number that goes with 40 hours per week. Any time that I put above that, I get time and a half for it. So if I work like 43 hours, I get paid my normal salary for 40 hours, and then for that 3 hours, I get paid 1.5% of that, so 4.5 hours. So that's sort of our incentive. And usually when we commission a project, when we're like in the final steps to take whatever we built and put it out there in the customer's plan, those are oftentimes longer days, longer weeks. We might be on the road, and that translates to like if we're working like a 60-hour week, that's usually a bigger paycheck. They pay for your hotel, they pay for your food, things like that. So it is hard to travel for sure. Like you're going to be away from your friends, your family, you're out and maybe in the middle of nowhere. But then that they do try to take care of you and provide you what you need to have a good as good an experience as you can.
Oh, that's good. That's amazing. That sounds
Yeah.
very different than the work atmosphere here in Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, people work like slaves here.
Yeah, they work like slaves.
Yeah. Oh man.
Not everybody look like they enjoy their work here. I think even the engineers seem very stressed here in Korea. Yeah, so it's not as laid back. Wow, it was such a great interview, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Wow, I think it's my first time to sit down with an engineer and actually try to understand what an engineer is all about. And I think I can better understand what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm honored. Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yes. Actually, I need to talk to you after the video. Are we finished?
Okay.
Yeah, they're finished.